In our last video, we showed you our journey from Ottawa to Chicago. We then traveled through Iowa, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, up through to Calgary, and then Edmonton. In total, we traveled just over 3,000 kilometers.
Why did we end up in Edmonton? Well, our son Aaron and his girlfriend Rita live there, and we had planned to go to the Yukon with them. We did end up going to Dawson City, and that will be in our next video. We had quite an adventure in Dawson City, so you want to stick around and wait for that video to come out. We were supposed to stay for 2 nights. We ended up staying for a week, not by choice. So we'll tell you all about that in the next video.
We left you with this in our last video. I'll explain what happened in just a minute, but first some highlights from our trip to Edmonton. Driving through Iowa was really nice. We saw miles of farmland, and one thing we really noticed was the amount of corn produced there. We drove by fields of corn for miles. Corn has been the top crop in Iowa for more than 150 years. In fact, Iowa is the best place on earth to grow corn. This is because its growing season is long and warm. We stayed at 2 campsites in Iowa, but our favorite one was Oakwood RV Park. The reason is that it was near a really pretty little city called Clear Lake, Iowa. Clear Lake is one of the best places to live in Iowa. It's a small city with a population of just over 7,500 people. Kevin and I rode our bikes into town about 5 kilometers from our campsite. We stopped at a small Mexican restaurant and enjoyed a delicious meal on the outdoor patio. Talking to locals at the restaurant, we learned that they love their city, especially when tourist season is over. Clear Lake is known for being the crash site of the plane-carrying Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and J.P. Richardson. They had just performed at the Surf Ballroom in Clear Lake. The musicians had chartered a flight to avoid a long, stormy bus ride to their next venue. Don McLean deemed this day the day the music died in his famous song, American Pie.
So we're here in Billings, Montana. Fellow fell asleep at the wheel and sideswiped the side of our rig. We were coming through this intersection in the right-hand lane. We had control of our lane just after the light changed. We had passed him, and then he hit the side of the coach. And this trooper, thank God, she was right behind us, and she pulled in right away. And she's been great to deal with. This is the damage to the coach.
We didn't feel anything.
The rig is so big and heavy, we didn't really feel the impact.
So thankfully, it was good that Kevin looked in his mirror at that moment.
Yeah, because we wouldn't have known that we'd been hit until well after the fact. And then I would have been wondering whether I had, scraped along a post or something like that. We were there though, it delayed us by about 2 hours. Filling in paperwork and taking pictures. We created quite a stir for traffic. That's a main artery going through Billings, and we had it reduced to 1 lane. We're just waiting now to hear back from his insurance at last. And speaking with his insurance, he wasn't registered as being insured on that vehicle, so I'm not sure how that's going to get handled. We're with Sheridan Insurance, McCafferty Insurance in Ottawa, and Ken McCafferty's always been very good with us, and Sheridan's always been fairly fair with us, so we're hoping for the best there. The damage to the coach, I won't say was minimal because we had the coach specifically painted, and the damage to the coach is a fairly significant scrape down one side, damage to the vent for the hot water and for our furnace. And I believe they misaligned one of the independent suspension hubs. Is misaligned now. When we got into Dawson, I noticed significant damage to one of the tires, or when we got into Whitehorse.
Yeah, there was a lot of wear, but you could see that the wheel was just a little bit off. If you were looking straight down at the two tires, it looked like that one was just misaligned a little bit.
Yeah, I got underneath and I looked at all the nuts and bolts, and it's got video of that to see where the alignment was, and all of the nuts and bolts seem to be in the right places. They haven't loosened or backed off from the OEM. So at some point, I'm going to have to try to get that aligned. You have to have the right tools to align this independent suspension for Moride. They'll aftermarket install it, and Keystone RV was the first to have it put on their Montana line at the manufacturer.
It's been good for the bumpy roads. It seems to take those bumps fairly well. If you go slow, you really do have to go slowly for these roads.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's foolish for anybody with a coach our size to be traveling down the road at 120 kilometers an hour. I think you're just asking for trouble.
Yeah, not good.
These are not designed for high speed, and they're designed for smoother roads. This is not an RV that you're going to be taking down dirt roads and country roads and this sort of thing. You have to be very diligent, mind your speed, and avoid major bumps. And that's been a challenge, to be honest, in the Yukon, particularly because of the frost heaves. And, they just don't seem to maintain the roads as well. I think that because of the frost and because of the weather conditions, it's very costly to maintain these highways. And, as you know, the Yukon, doesn't have a lot of money. I think tops, 40,000 people in the whole of the Yukon.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of people here for
No,
good reason.
Yeah, you get on a highway and there will be, 200 kilometers and nothing. No gas station.
Beautiful nothing, but nothing.
Yeah, beautiful, but
Yeah,
trees.
very isolated.
Very isolated.
Yeah.
In our next video, see why Aaron had to have his Jeep towed and why we had to have Rita flown out of Dawson City.